I made a mistake, and I want to make sure that you don't make the same mistake I did. So here's what happened. I was getting ready to go to the fox hunt race. Now, the night before the fox hunt itself, they were going to do a test and tune on track, and then we were going to go racing on Saturday for big money. It was like $5,000 to win. So I thought that would be a good opportunity to make some tuning changes that I'd been considering making. So I reached out to my carb guy, Mike at Velocity Racing Carbs. Fantastic. If you're ever looking for a race carburetor or even a street carburetor, go see Velocity. They will get you dialed in so nice it's not even funny. So we decided to make a couple of tuning changes that we'd been considering now that we had a good opportunity to give them a try and see what actually happened. We decided to move the timing ahead a couple of degrees to cut through the humidity better, and I took the fuel bowls off of this carburetor just to make sure I knew what jets were in there, because it's been a while since I've had that carburetor apart, and I wanted to make sure that we were making the right changes for this car. So that's kind of where things started to go sideways. So at that point, I made the jetting changes that we decided upon, basically leaning it out just a little bit because the plugs looked a little richer than we liked. So, and I say we here because I'm sending images back and forth to Mike at Velocity, and we're making decisions on this car together. I want to emphasize that when you're working with a tuner like this remotely, you got to have good communication back and forth, and you both got to be thinking. So I made the changes, and I put the carburetor back together, hit the key, electric fuel pump comes on, no leaks. I thought I was good. So we get to the track, and, literally this was in the span of a couple hours because the test and tune didn't start till 6 o'clock. I was making these changes, middle of the day around noon or so. So I knew these changes were fresh in my mind. We get to the track, and the first pass off the trailer, it didn't respond correctly like it should have.
Alrighty, here we are. We are at the Fox on a 28 Motorsports Park. Woohoo! Wheelie wagon. This is no box. I'm racing a lot of pro. There's a problem there. Not entirely sure what's going on. That was top end at first that it did that. There's something weird going on. I'm not sure what.
So after having a big sag right there at the top of first gear, I came back to the pits. I started looking for anything and everything that was going to be a problem. I even cleaned out my fuel filter. I double-checked fuel pressure. I was going over all the things that I thought I had touched, with one exception. I even raised the fuel pressure up a pound just on the off chance that was going to be part of the fix. So I go up there and I make a second pass, and there is still a big lean sag at the top, very top of first gear. But I had overlooked one thing that you should always check whenever you have the fuel bowls off your Holley carburetors. Float level. What I had found is that I had neglected to check the float level on the secondary side especially. On the primary side, it's right where I want it, about halfway up. I can see that right there. But the thing that I didn't realize or didn't even take the time to look at when I put this back together was that the fuel level was like barely at the bottom of the sight glass. And on launch, all of the fuel sloshed to the back of the fuel bowl and ran away from my secondary jets. Even though I've got a jet extension on there, it wasn't quite enough. So what I did is I raised the secondary float level all the way to the top, made my carb guy very uncomfortable when I had told him what I had done. I've since lowered it back down just a little bit to put everybody's mind at ease. So it's not much of an issue now. With the float level addressed, it's now time to see if this thing is going to run. Because sitting here in the pits, it would rev like crazy all day long. But because it wasn't getting those G-forces on launch, it wasn't going to experience the same symptoms that it does on track. I didn't realize this until I edited the video, but there's a lot of big wheelies at this event, and it's really cool. Sometimes it's the simplest problems that take the longest to find because our mind is going a million miles an hour. We're looking for everything, and we tend to overlook the obvious. At least I know I do. So this is a lesson. Check the simple things first. Check your float level if you have the fuel bowl off. But anyways, going into round number 1, I was a little, out of sorts because literally I had just found the problem and proved that it was going to be doing its thing like the morning of the race. Yes, it took me 4 or 5 passes to figure this thing out, but ultimately we were able to get it squared back up, and my carb guy is still on good terms with me. Or I'm still on good terms with him, one of the two. So, going into round number 1, it was a little unique because I didn't realize what this class was. This is called a no-box-box combo, meaning they run the no-box cars and the box cars, and then the last no-box car gets tossed in to run with the box cars. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just going to be a no-box bottom bulb race, which I'm perfectly okay with. I'm a foot breaker, works for me. But yeah, I was a little outgunned in this race.
This day has turned out not the way I expected it to. Apparently what I'm running in is a box no box combo, and what that means is that it's no box cars that then we race against delay box cars. So the car's been having a litany of issues, but I think I've got them figured out. So let's see how we do. I got an 821 on the window. We're 8th miling today against a 635. expensive way to find the trouble, but it's back to itself. That's what matters at the moment. I wish I could have done better, but whatever.
Keep in mind, most of the cars that I race are nowhere near 630 in the 8th mile. We're like 750 maybe on a good day. Bottom dial in Sportsman is an 1150, which I guess it's a high 7-second car in the 8th. This is 821 in the 8th, low 8s in the 8th. So that rate of closure was really hard to judge for me. He had like 30, 35 miles an hour on me, and I wasn't prepared for what that was going to look like. And I did the best I could, but I still broke out. Remember, I just made this car work, and I'm kind of dialing a little bit conservatively just in case the car acts up. Well, I dialed way too conservatively and broke out, went under my number, and I was out in round number 1. But you know something? Sometimes that's okay, because I was just genuinely done fighting the car, fighting the heat. It was hot. It was just turning into be a little bit unfun. So after that race, I went over and talked to the guys that beat me, because that's the sportsman-like thing to do. Go talk to them, shake their hand, tell them good luck, wish you all the best on the future rounds. But here's the cool thing. actually talking to them, it was two brothers. They both were racing separate cars. They went and hit a lot of different races in the Midwest, mostly, bigger money races, which I totally understand. Guys were good and they could certainly make that work. But what I found out was there's a lot of tracks in the area, and they really invited me out to a couple of different events. One's upcoming at Mocan. Not sure if I'm going to make that one. They've raced all over the place, and they had nothing but good things to say. We talked for a while. It was an awesome thing. So, guys, it's always a good idea to go work on the relationships with your fellow racers, because you never know when you meet someone that's going to be a good influence in your life. When you're making changes like this, check the simple things first when you're done to make sure they're where they need to be. The simple stuff trips us up more often than I'd like to admit. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you later. Let's get out to the garage and go build something.